If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me tell you, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, and free's always good. There's these really great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And then Anchor will take your podcast and distribute it for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple's Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need in one place to make a podcast. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the 7th episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. I am Kelly, and my co-host, as always, is James. How is it going, brother?
What's up, my sister? Things are good here.
You know, it has been another crazy week. You know, I know that we say that we're not going to get political because, you know, politics is some crazy shit. However, I will say...
Yes, it is.
I will say that if you are thinking about it or if you're on the fence, whatever your political, whatever, man, just go vote. Because you can't bitch if you don't vote. So,
and that's
all I'm saying.
That's my ticket to bitch.
If you want to bitch on if you want to bitch on November 5th, you have to vote on November 4th. Otherwise, you forfeit your right to bitch. So think of it as your right to bitch, not so much your right to vote, but your right to bitch about your vote because you voted.
Isn't it November 3rd we vote?
Oh, is it? Oh, I don't know. I already voted, so I don't really know. I always thought it was November 4th. Are you sure? Somebody should look that up for us because we're not even sure. But I already voted.
We're going to float it out there.
Right, but I already voted. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Just, you know, just go do it. Go vote so that you can bitch, and then we're all good. So, James, we are back again for episode 7. I'm really excited. We are doing urban legends and curses.
Right on.
So, as always, tell us, okay, let's put it this way. This is week 7 for us on doing our podcast. I think we've been doing really good. I think we've been getting better. You know, we talk about it's fun. We got some listenership, but maybe this is your first time listening to us, or this is the first episode that you've chosen to listen to for whatever reason. So I always like to say, if you've been with us from the beginning, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're just joining us, thank you, thank you, thank you. James, tell us why we do this podcast.
Well, first of all, I would just like to take a second to thank our listeners, too. For them to take time out of their day to listen to us, I appreciate that. So, and that is some crazy shit to me. But, Miss Kelly, our objective, as always, is to bring awareness on a variety of topics that we find intriguing and hopefully will intrigue you enough that maybe you want to listen continually or you want to go and do some research on your own and get interested in it. I also want to say that we want to provide a platform for people who have had paranormal experiences and want to share them without the fear of being ridiculed. We are also want to reach out to anyone like a psychic medium, or if you, like we had Rue on, who sees spirits. Hey, come forward. We want to share your story. Okay, and we had talked about this, Kelly. I also want to clarify, when we say that's some crazy shit, we're not saying the person is crazy as in insane. We're saying it's so crazy, it's so wild. There's just so much stuff out there we don't understand and we don't know. It's just mind-boggling. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's some crazy shit. That's like the perfect name.
Yeah, so don't, I don't want people to say, well, God, they think I'm crazy because I had this paranormal experience, or they think I'm crazy because I'm a card reader or something. No, not at all, man. Not at all.
The world is full of crazy shit that we do not understand, and we just want to talk about it. We know there's a lot of podcasts out there, but we want to be able to open up our platform and have more guests on in the future. So that's like a goal of James and myself, is to have more guests, more dialogue. I mean, yeah, we're always entertaining to listen to, but hey, maybe you want
We
to
are. We are.
listen to somebody else, right? So, by no means, we are not experts. We never claim to be, but we will do, as always, is we will do some research. We'll bring you some theories, some stories, things that we found, along with our opinion. We want to keep it positive. We want to keep it open. We want to keep it upbeat. So there's different ways, and we want you to interact with us as well. So different ways that you can interact with us. We are on social media. So we started off with email. So, if you want to tell us your story, or you want to come on and be a part of the show, by all means, drop us an email. Let's talk about it. The email is thatsomecrazyshitpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can get us at Twitter. And at Twitter, we're at @thatsomecrazyshit. You can get us there. You can get us on Instagram. And that's at _some crazy shit. So it's _some crazy shit. That's Instagram. Facebook is K and J's crazy shit. And we're also on YouTube at That's Some Crazy Shit. So no reason why you can't get at us. And we would love to hear from you, even to hear your thoughts or whatever. Come talk to us. That's what the podcast is all about. So we we did a contest last week. We said, what was your favorite Halloween costume? We asked you to comment, like us, and tag 3 friends. And James, guess what?
What?
Nobody did it. We don't have anybody to give our prize to. And we have some pretty good prizes. So y'all are missing out. Quit lunching on the prizes. Come on. We're going to do it again. So we're going to have a question at the end of the podcast. We're going to put it on social media. Comment to answer the question. Like us. Tag 3 friends. We will put you in a drawing for a really cool prize.
No shit. What does tag 3 friends mean?
So that means mention 3 friends in your post. So when you comment, like if I say, what's your scariest costume? And you said, oh, 1 year I was a zombie witch. And then you would say, so-and-so, my friend, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. You would tag those 3 friends so that they would come and answer the question as well. That's what tagging is. It gets the word out there to other people. Like us, comment, and then, tag 3 friends. We'll put you in a drawing to win a prize.
And not just the 3 people who are tagged also get put in the drawing.
Yeah, everybody gets put in the drawing. And so the couple of prizes that we had last time were spices from Chef Bella B and a spice grinder. And we've got some other cool prizes. So again, question at the end of the podcast. And then you can hit us on social media. So for the rest of the month, we've got one more thing for Halloween. That is Halloween itself next week. Werewolves, magic, and rituals will be next week. But for now, we're going right into it. We are going into Cryptid Creatures. This is James's segment. As always, Cryptid Creatures is brought to you by Chef Bella B LLC, offering personal chef and private chef services. She also has spices and sauces on her website. She is based out of Aurora, Colorado, but you can get her on her web address, which is www.chefbellabkitchen.com. She's also on Instagram at Chef Bella B. She is cooking local blah blah blah. She is cooking in Aurora. I was going to say locally, but I messed that up. She is cooking in Aurora at a little bar called East Fax Tap. That's 8001 Colfax. She's there 3 days a week. So you can go check her out. James, with no further ado, let's talk about urban legends.
All right, real quickly, I used the taco sauce or seasoning she sent me when I made guacamole. Yeah.
It was good?
It was good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah,
All
her
right.
spices are good, guys, but no. Let's go. Cryptid Creatures. James.
Okay, K-Mo. Here we go.
Okay, J-Bo.
So, the definition of an urban legend is it's a genre of folklore, and it's usually stories that are circulated as being true and having happened to a friend or a family member. Okay, and they're generally, a little on the scary side. Someone disappears or they see an apparition or something like that.
Yeah, there's a whole movie called Urban Legend where they go over some of the kind of campground story urban legends. I'll see if you bring any of those up, and I'll tell you one of them that always comes to mind, but continue.
All right. Oh, thank you for allowing me to continue.
Anytime.
I appreciate that.
Anytime.
All right. So, doing some research, every state has a urban legend.
Every state.
Every state. I mean, and some have, obviously more than one. Okay.
Really? So every state has an urban legend.
Yes. And
nice.
I thought that was interesting too. When I was going through them, there were some I wanted to talk about because they're going to lead into episodes that we'll have down the road. So one of them I wanted to talk about was the state of Arizona, and their urban legend is about the skinwalkers. So that's their prevalent one there in Arizona. Okay, and real briefly, the skinwalkers are supposedly shaman, maybe that work with the dark side of the magic, and they have the ability to shapeshift. And it has to do with they have a skin or pelt of the animal that they want to shapeshift into.
Wait, do skinwalkers only shapeshift into animals?
That's a good question. There are some reports of them, like, do you know what a dust devil is?
I do not.
Okay, so a dust devil is just like a little, I want to call it a little windstorm, like a little funnel cloud, just real small, in a real dry area, out in the desert. You get the wind spinning because it's hot.
And it kicks up dust. Hence the name Dust Devil. Okay, I gotcha.
Exactly. So there are reports of them being able to turn into things like that. But mostly they are animals. So, example, if a skinwalker were to possess a pelt or a piece of the skin from a wolf, he would be able to manifest himself into a wolf. Now, I don't know if they can do several animals. I mean, to me, I think I would carry around several different types of pelts if I could, have that power. But there was nothing I found that said that they do that. So maybe they can only do one animal, like a
Okay,
specialty.
so I have a question. Skinwalkers are primarily from Native American culture, correct?
Correct.
And is there urban legends about? Are you saying that there are the being just knowing that there's a skinwalker is an urban legend?
Right. I guess you could say
Okay.
that. But what I'm getting is from each state, these are the prevalent stories. So, and people tend to think, I think people tend to think of urban legends as being something that happens in a city, but remember the definition. It's something that happened that's presented as being true that happened to a friend or a family.
So so Arizona has the urban legend of seeing a lot of skinwalkers. There's a lot of sightings because there's a lot of Native American reservations down there. These sightings are coming from Native Americans
Oh, no,
primarily, or other
no.
people too.
Well, I would think that maybe because of the location, because like you said, they're probably happening primarily on Indian land, but they're not exclusively Native American. I mean, they call Native Americans refer to white people or Caucasians as Anglos. I thought that was interesting.
So let me
So,
ask you, wait, let me ask you a question because I'm trying to follow you here about because skinwalkers interest me. Um, if a skinwalker can change or morph into an animal, then how do you know that you're seeing a skinwalker, not really seeing a wolf?
that's a good question, and apparently it has to do with the appearance of the eyes. Um, they're reflective anyway, but the color tends to be an off color. They describe it like as maybe a deep red or like a bright green. I don't know what color a wolf's eyes would reflect. Because they like animals. Once you hit the back of the eye, it reflects that light out. So I don't know what the natural color is, but apparently that has to do with the color of the eyes, and also just the feeling that people get.
Hmm,
It's that you got to tune into yourself again. And they get that feeling. It's just something's just not right. You know,
interesting.
so
So skinwalkers in Arizona.
skinwalkers that was the urban legend from Arizona, and we are going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch in the future, which is in Utah.
Right.
And that is some crazy shit right there.
I
So that kind
watched
of
a
leads
movie.
into
I
that.
watched a movie on Skinwalker Ranch the other week on Amazon. It's a trip. We'll talk about it.
All right, so there's that one. And then another one that I found was interesting is from your neck of the woods. And it's the urban legend of Riverdale Road in Colorado. And it's this 11-mile long strip of road in Thornton, Colorado, that has all these people see ghosts attacking. Let me back up. They'll see ghosts jogging.
Okay.
They've had ghosts attack cars, and there's even a report of a phantom Camaro that chases people along this stretch of road.
How long is this road? You said 12 miles?
11 miles.
In Thornton, Colorado?
Thornton, Colorado.
No, I've never heard that. Really?
So, and then they go into um, why this stretch of road was cursed. You talked about cursed, so curses.
Yeah, but why is it what happened?
Okay, so I guess back in the day there was a woman who had some slaves, and she hung them from a tree there, and so that kind of started it. And then from there, they saw the ghosts of the hung people, and then they also started seeing packs of, well, ghost dogs, phantom dogs, up and down this stretch of highway. And there's also a report of a portal somewhere in the area. And that's interesting because that goes back into Skinwalker Ranch territory. We'll talk about that down the road.
A portal to another dimension?
Well, in the story I read, it's a portal to quote-unquote hell.
Oh. Not
just
a good
like
portal.
You talked about in the castle.
Oh, well, yeah, the castle. Definitely portal to hell.
So there's a report of one along this stretch of road somewhere.
Hey, man, let me tell you something. Colorado's got some crazy shit. That airport, which, we should talk about that in the future, but yeah. Okay. That is one stretch of road I will be avoiding.
Well, yeah, but see, I think I'd be kind of cool. If I come visit, you might have to take me down
Send
that
you
road.
Out there.
No, quit me there.
Send you out there, and you can call me from the road.
You know what you get? To have an Uber take you out there. This poor Uber, you go out there and you guys start seeing ghosts. Can you imagine what the poor Uber would be thinking?
Not if he or she is into it, but yeah. I'm again not going. Okay, so that's Arizona and Colorado.
Okay, and then I thought another interesting one, because I don't know if I've had a past life, but I've always been very drawn to Louisiana and New Orleans. Okay, so the urban legend from down in New Orleans is about a vampire, the Count de Saint Germain. Now, I have heard about this guy. He was actually a gentleman who purportedly couldn't die. He lived forever. There were reports of him in Europe, in the different courts, I guess you'd call them, hanging out with the rich and famous, like from the late 1600s. Okay, and then there's reports of him still being alive in the 1970s.
Any reports of him in the 80s or 90s or 2000s?
I'm not sure. The story I looked into didn't say anything later than that. But hold on, that's not correct. So 83, they said he died of a drug overdose. Or did he? Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, yeah. Did he? So, come on. Can a vampire die from a drug overdose?
Well, that's the thing.
Could you get the vampire? But would the vampire need drugs? I don't know. Well, I just thought a vampire would crave blood, right?
Well, and that's in one of the stories that's related to him. Apparently, he moves out of this house, pretty quickly, leaves everything behind, and they go into his wine cellar and find wine bottles full of blood. See, I think this is interesting too, because when you go back and you look at different stories, blood is always seems to be a really central part. Like vampires need blood. You need to do a blood sacrifice to appease gods.
Yeah.
There's something about blood.
Because it's in your body and it's sacred.
Yeah, and I like
maybe.
Keep it there.
I like to keep my blood in my body. Maybe that's the whole thing about blood. Wow. Okay, so you got Arizona, Colorado, Louisiana.
All right, and then you're going to talk about curses.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I found one that goes with the Salem witch trials.
So this would be Massachusetts.
Yes, Massachusetts. I can't say Massachusetts.
See, I'm good, though. Massachusetts.
So, remember we talked about the crazy trials they would give people to see if they're witches?
Yes.
Okay, so the urban legend is that the local girl, or excuse me, Giles Corey, went through one of these trials, so they put heavier rocks on him in an effort to, get him to confess. So hey, this is correct. Yeah. They're torturing these people so they can confess to being witches, so they can be executed. And if they don't, confess, then they're killed by the trials. So the legend is right before he dies, with his dying breath, he curses Salem.
Oh.
Okay? So for generations after his death, they would see his apparition in the cemetery kind of as a warning of something foreboding going to happen. So every time he shows up, something bad happens right after.
And he was a guy in the Salem witch trials that they didn't stone him, but you said that they did the trial where you said they would put bricks on you and
Just
the heavier
just
right
heavier
stones. And then,
Yeah.
of course, if you could withstand the stones, you're a witch. And if you couldn't withstand the stones, oh, our bad, you weren't a witch. But you're dead now.
Yeah,
right?
You're squished. So, yeah, basically. So, and then so it goes on. The report is in 1914, he appears in the cemetery, and shortly after that, a fire breaks out and takes out a big part of the city. Okay. So then, as we go back, starting in 1696, every sheriff that has been in office for the town there something has happened. He's had a heart attack, or he's been killed, or something bad happens to the sheriff, because part of the curse was the sheriff knew he was innocent, yet he still arrested him and did all these things.
Oh, so now anybody who is sheriff is cursed.
But it recently has been broken. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but they moved the sheriff out of the old building that had been there since 1696. They moved him out of there into a new modern building, and since the sheriff has been located there, there have been no other problems.
Ah, that's good for that sheriff who decided to move, huh?
Yeah, no shit. It makes you wonder. You're like, I'll run if you move to the office,
right? Yeah. Okay, that's Massachusetts. So you got Arizona. Well, guys, see if I Arizona, Colorado, Massachusetts. What was the one we just did?
The one we just did was Massachusetts. You just want me to say Massachusetts.
Massachusetts and Louisiana.
Oh, Louisiana. Sorry, with the count.
Okay.
The count. And okay, now this, as some of the people who listened, and I don't know a lot of the people who know me know that zombies freak me out.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Don't do zombies.
Yeah, I'm not a zombie guy. I do not watch movies of zombies,
Nope.
Walking Dead, whatever, all that. No,
Nope.
But I thought it was funny. One time I went down to Vegas, and a friend took me to go see this show. Okay, and I've never been to a Vegas show. All right, let's go. It was like a zombie burlesque show.
Yeah. See, there is no such thing as a sexy zombie. I'm sorry.
No, that's
they're
not
just
true.
not. Well,
no, there is.
No, there's not.
I was there. Yes,
well,
I was there.
I
some sexy ass zombies.
I disagree with you. You cannot be a zombie and be sexy at the same time.
Yes, they were, and it was a dilemma I was having, because I'm deathly afraid of them, but they were hot. All right, so back on topic. Zombie Road in Missouri. Okay, so for a long, long time, there's been history of um, humanoid, shadowy figures running around that area. If you go along this trail, they're said to follow you. You can hear
Where is
them
this?
whispering.
Where is this at?
This is in Missouri,
Where in Missouri?
in Wildwood,
Wildwood, Missouri.
and it's outside of St. Louis. Okay. So, originally it was built as access to a gravel quarry that was by the river. In the 1970s, it started to fall into disrepair. Okay. So then the story goes on to say that there were trails of hauntings. We talked about, people or ghosts following people, things like that. They were caused, they say, by railroad accidents, and they had executed Civil War spies in the area. And then there's also a children's hospital that they say was very abusive to the children. So there's probably a lot of spirits from there that are in that area. So I don't exactly know why they called it zombie. Maybe because of the shadowy figures you see. But the name caught my attention.
Yeah, I don't do anything with zombies. I'm sorry. And we're just gonna have to revisit that there's a such thing as a sexy zombie because no,
Yes, there
no.
is. I was there. And it was a dilemma because I was scared, but I was kind of turned on.
Wow. Don't
All right.
believe him.
So, yeah, I believe. So, Nevada, okay, we're going to talk about, of course, what's in Nevada?
Las Vegas.
Okay, let me rephrase that. What paranormal urban legend type thing is in Nevada?
Area 51.
Area 51. God. So,
You didn't say.
I know, that's why I had to specify. I didn't rephrase it. Okay, so the thing with Area 51 is that's the area where the government takes any alien technology, or some people say that there are actual alien bodies there. I don't think there are. I think the alien bodies are kept in another location, but I do believe that Area 51 is used to back engineer and study alien technology.
Well, you know what? Area 51 is definitely an urban legend. I know that when they made the movie Independence Day, they tried to get the government to sign off on Area 51, and the government said, nope, we will not confirm nor deny. Right? So they couldn't get their sign off. But yeah, there's some crazy shit. They've said, as far as like alien technology and testing aircraft and stuff out of Area 51. Yes, I have heard these stories.
And one of the really intriguing stories, now I've been following this since it became public, was Bob Lazar. And Bob Lazar was a scientist who claimed to work at a classified section of Area 51. And he came out and said he had all this technology. He was describing them. He took out a friend of his. I don't remember his first name, but his last name was Lear. And his father signed the Lear jet. This gentleman has the credentials that he carries are incredible. He can fly literally any fixed wing aircraft in the world. Okay, he's an aerospace engineer. All this. Okay, Bob Lazar takes him out to a desert. They have video of them doing this, and he's like, "Yeah, any minute now." And there it is. The light appears. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because this will be something to talk about in the future. But when someone who has those credentials, who knows what every single fixed aircraft, is capable of and all this, he says he sees something that he doesn't understand, and then later comes out and says, yes, we have foreign technology. That's some crazy shit.
That is some crazy shit. And
And here's some more crazy shit, real quick, Cap. Bob Lazar at the time had said that they used element 115 to power their craft. Okay. When all this came out, there was no element 115 on the periodic table. Oh, well, how can that be? How can they use it if we don't have it on our periodic table? About 5 years ago, they found out this element exists. We have found it.
Cool. That's cool. That's some crazy shit. Urban legends are a trip, James. Is that all you have for urban legends?
You know, we could go on and on, Kel, just as much as you want, as long as you want. Real quickly, we'll segue into another episode down the road. New Mexico. The Chupacabra, Kelly.
Yes.
That is their thing down there, the Chupacabra. Now, this is interesting because I've been following this since the story broke. In the 80s, late 80s, 90s, it actually started in Puerto Rico. Okay. Then it was reported as being, let's say, monkey-shaped, okay, small ape, but covered in scales and looking more like a reptoid, Kel.
Like a reptilian overlord.
Right. And they said, and Chupacabra is goat sucker. Okay, so that's how it happened then. Okay, then from there, it made its way into the Texas, New Mexico, Arizona area. Okay, and now it's being described as almost canine-like. And so, I mean, and I was always confused by this. I'm like, well, how can it be, so how can the appearances be so different?
Maybe it's a shapeshifter.
Could be. And this is what the thing is, too. Like you said, maybe it's a shapeshifter. And, blood is involved in both instances. They suck the blood of their victims.
Interesting.
And the one guy was saying, Chupacabra isn't so much a description, it's what they do. They suck the blood. So he's like, we need to get past that. It's a this, it's a that. He says it's an action. Once they start sucking the blood of something, it falls into
that category.
You got it.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, James, thank you very much for urban legends.
My pleasure, Kamo.
Thank you. We are going to move on to curses. And this segment will be brought to you by Bright-Headed Publishing, LLC. Their goal is to help others reach their dream of becoming a published author. They will be starting their own patio book club, kind of like an audio book, but a patio book club podcast. So
what's a patio book for
a patio book is where they take a book and they read a chapter at a time. It's like an audio book, but it's free. The difference is that, audio book, you can listen to it anytime. A patio book, they only do a chapter a week. So almost like a serial, like back in the day, like a soap opera almost, but it's a book. So that's
right on.
Their Instagram is at BHPLCC. Facebook is Bright-Headed Publishing, LLC. And so I will give you more information on that as it becomes available. So I am moving into curses. So, funny thing about curses, I found a lot of information about curses. I did not know that this is a subject that's been around for a long time. Even today, people believe in curses. So what is a curse? So a curse is a wish or an expressed wish, usually verbal, that wants some form of adversity or misfortune to happen to either someone, a place, or an object. So a curse is usually it's made effective by a supernatural or spiritual power, such as a god or a spirit or a natural force. It is a spell, but usually spells are done to make something happen. Curses are specifically to make something bad happen to somebody else or a place. So a curse,
spell good, curse bad.
yes, spell good, because you can have lots of spells, but a curse is specific. It is so that something bad happens, and it can be called a hex or a jinx in many belief systems. That's also the same thing as a curse. Sometimes the curse is accompanied by some type of ritual, so something will make it happen sometimes. And then you can also reverse or eliminate a curse, and that's called a removal or a breaking. And that's usually done through a spell, usually an elaborate ritual, or maybe a prayer. So that's what a curse is. Curses are bad. Spells are not, okay? Right. So where did curses come from, right? So as long as there have been beliefs in gods and the supernatural and magic and spells, there have been curses. And curses are very much ingrained with the belief and practices to this very day, right? And when I say they, I mean archaeologists have found a plethora, I like that word, plethora of ancient curses and protective spells throughout history. There have been curse tablets, or the evil eye, right? Or talismans, right? So, curses vary between cultures and locations and religions and beliefs. As far as religion goes, guess what? How you said there are witches in the Bible? Guess what? There are curses in the Bible. God himself cursed the serpent in the Bible, right? So curses go back a long ways. And although they may differ between cultures and locations, the one thing that is consistent is that curses are made to inflict misfortune or punishment on a specific target, right? So it doesn't matter what culture, that's consistent as far as what a curse is. Sometimes it can be verbalized. Curses can be written. Sometimes, like I said, it might be an elaborate ritual, right? Sometimes it may just bring you bad luck all the time. So every time you go somewhere, it's always bad luck. It may bring on death, right? It just may make a number of annoying mishaps happen to you, right? So even today, for example, and this, because I always like to go to movies, because there's movies about everything. There's a movie about a curse. It's called Drag Me to Hell. And in this movie, she was cursed by an old gypsy woman because she wouldn't help the gypsy lady get the loan at the bank, remember? And ultimately, her curse was to be dragged to hell. And she was. Spoiler alert, if you've never seen the movie, ultimately she was dragged to hell by this curse. So
Kelly, it's in the title, my friend.
I'm just saying, spoiler alert. So it's and a lot of times curses are summoned with some type of evil supernatural force or phenom, and that's why. However, if you do find yourself cursed, you can seek help from practitioners of magic, like shamans or religious leaders or healers or witch doctors, and can have your cursed reversed through ritual or prayer.
I have a question.
Sure.
What happens, let's say a skinwalker curses me? Can I go to a practitioner of voodoo to have him remove it?
Are you psychic? Because I'm going to go into types of curses, but yes, you could. Yep. So the first one, the first type of curse is African American hoodoo. Okay, these are just types of curses, but that's funny that you mentioned that. And can you get
Synchronicity.
the curse reversed? Yes, you could. So I'll go into that in a little while. So types of curses. The first one I found was African American hoodoo, and that's like the jinx, right? Or they called crossed conditions. So hoodoo has like foot magic, and what that does is that curse objects that are in the path of the victim, and they're activated when the victim walks over them.
Like a landmine.
Like a landmine. That's
wild.
African American hoodoo. There's also types of curses in the Middle East and the Mediterranean, and theirs is more of the evil eye, right?
Yeah.
And so that may be a result of envy or jealousy. And they say that that's a deliberate curse, but you can be protected from the evil eye. You can get if you get like they have a dark blue circular glass, and then they'll put a white circle and a black dot in the glass to make it look like an eye. And if you carry that with you, that will protect you from the evil eye. Then there
Now,
in
what
German,
is the evil eye? Does someone like give you the stink eye?
yeah, well, almost, but the evil eye is where they put a curse on you using their evil eye. I'll get more into what that is, okay? So then the German people, or the Pennsylvania Dutch, they talk about hexing. And because hexen is the German word for doing witchcraft, if you didn't know that.
Really?
Yeah. So common hexes in their time was caused by, they called it like a stable witch. So maybe your milk cows would go dry, right?
Or hope your milk cows dry up.
Curse you, or your horses go lame. Okay,
that's messed up, man.
And then the last one is the Kuru curse, and that's caused by cannibalism, and that's when that's when a species eats its own species. So, for example, an example of that curse would be cows getting infected from eating other cows and getting mad cow disease. They say that's the curse of the cow eating cow.
Oh. So,
right.
Like, and maybe that's why, cannibalism always freaks me out. Zombies are cannibals, freaks me out. I think it's just the thought of me getting eaten freaks me out.
Yeah, I don't like that either. So when I was looking up curses, the thing that I thought was so interesting are there are some really famous curses out there. And I'm going to talk about 6 of them. So when you think about curses, what's probably, and I'll see if this is on my list, James, what's like one of the most famous curses that you can think of?
Okay, so I'm a big Chicago Cubs fan. I have been since the 80s. And they're cursed. Way back in the day, a fan wanted to bring his goat in to like the last World Series the Cubs were in, and they wouldn't let the goat in. So he cursed the Cubs. They would never win another championship.
And they didn't for a very long time.
For like 100 and something years, yeah. Then they make the run for the championship, and it's funny because people started to have shirts that said, "We ain't afraid of no goat." I mean, every fan of the Cubs knows the curse of the goat.
So that is a very famous curse, yes. I was thinking, however, that's one that I looked at, but I didn't actually bring to the table. I was thinking of Pharaoh's curse.
Oh, uh-huh.
So Pharaoh's curse is probably one of their more famous curses. It became famous in 1922 when they opened up King Tut's tomb. And the people that opened up the tomb and the visitors soon after started dying, right? And so came this speculation that it was the curse. And authors and journalism have fanned those flames for a long time. In reality, deadly curses and royal tombs in Egypt are rare. They usually come from those who are already desecrating the tombs. And there's never been any truth to the pharaoh's curses, but you are definitely warned to stay out of the tombs as you enter, and because they've been purified before they were closed up, right? So it's a sacred space anyway. But is it true or not? I don't know. That was only back in 1922 when King Tut's tomb's been on display everywhere. It's just one of the more famous curses. Okay. One of the more recent curses that I thought was interesting, that I thought was pretty interesting, was the Madden curse.
Oh yeah, the Madden curse.
And this is a video game curse, which I didn't know. So it seems like the NFL players who are on the cover of the game Madden have had a horrible season after they've been on the cover or been on the injured list.
Yeah.
So Michael Vick, 2004, Donovan McNabb, 2006, Sean Alexander, 2007, Vince Young, 2008, Brett Favre, 2009, Troy Palomu, how do you say his name?
Palomalu.
Palomalu, 2010, Peyton Hills, 2012. They all were on the cover. Now, I don't know. That's all I could find. So I don't know about now, but that was a pretty good run, and they started calling that the Madden curse.
Yeah, and it was crazy because players they'd have this crazy season or they'd win a championship, and then you wouldn't want to get put on the cover of Madden because you knew it was a curse. And then they'd put people on, and they'd fucking bust a leg or something. And for a while, it was like, it makes you wonder: do I have a choice? Do they just put them on the cover? Do they ask you? Because it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to be on the cover of Madden. So another famous curse that probably everybody has heard about is the curse of the Kennedy family, right? And it's not really sure where this curse came from. There are different stories, but it is said that the curse came from an enemy of Joe Kennedy. Back in the day, Joe Kennedy was a bootlegger, right? And so they said that he brought it on himself, or I've even read stories where he made a deal with the devil. He had 9 children. One of them was confined to a home for the mentally ill. 1963, Kennedy assassinated in 63.
Yeah.
Robert Kennedy assassinated 5 years later in 68. Ted Kennedy survived a plane crash and drove his car off a bridge that killed Mary Jo Kopechne, remember? Robert Kennedy's son died of a drug overdose. His other son, JFK, died in a plane crash along with his wife and his sister. Yeah. And then more recently, Mary Kennedy, the wife of RFK, hung herself. And there have been countless other stories with children now with the Kennedy family. Now, the family has never came out and said that they were cursed, but that is a well-known famous curse that the Kennedys are in fact cursed. Another one that I like that I thought was really interesting is the Superman curse, right?
Uh-huh.
So the Superman curse came from the dudes that actually created Superman, and they were said to have cursed their own creation after they were denied the rights and the money to the character. So it becomes one of the most infamous curses. The first guy, George Reeves, committed suicide. We all know about Christopher Reeve becoming paralyzed after falling from his horse. And then his wife was a non-smoker. She died of lung cancer at the age of 44. Lee Quigley died in 1991 at the age of 14 after abuse, and I'm not sure who Lee Quigley is. Margaret Kidder, who played Lois Lane.
Margot Kidder, yeah.
Oh, Margot Kidder. She suffered bipolar disease. And Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were abused by DC Comics. Now,
they were the creators.
Right. Everybody that has played Superman, it kind of has tanked their career, right? Including Dean Cain, who did play Superman, that you guys may not even remember.
Yeah,
right?
I remember Dean Cain and
remember
Terry
his
Hatcher.
Superman movies, right?
Yeah.
And then lastly, Henry Cavill, who they say may have broken the curse. It's too soon to say. He did pick up The Witcher. He did say I think I read where he's not even going to be Superman anymore, but maybe he did break it. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Well, now from a comic book thing, real quick, Kel, they were saying that with the new reshoot of Justice League, he's going to come back and play Superman in that.
But then that's it for him, I think.
Boy, hey, never say never.
And that could be, maybe that's part of the curse. He'll come back and the Witcher will tank or what. That's what I'm saying. Too soon to tell on him playing Superman.
I'm rooting
Another
for him.
Another curse that I found was the Iceman's curse. And back in 91, a body of an Iceman was discovered in the Alps. It was estimated that the body dates back to over 5,000 years. But after his discovery, 7 of the people who found him died over the course of 13 years, which would have been acceptable, right? It would have been acceptable, but none of them were from natural causes. One of them died in a car accident. The other one was killed in an avalanche. The other one fell off a curse. The other one had a blood disorder. It is definitely one of the more current and famous curses. And the last one that I have is called the Curse of the Dead Man's Chair. And I thought this was really interesting. This dates back to the 1800s. So it's a legend that anybody who sits in this guy's chair will die soon after. So back in 1702, this guy, the town drunk, marries this beautiful girl. His name was Thomas Busby, and he marries beautiful Elizabeth Autry. And her father opposed the marriage. And so one day he came home, Bugsby come home, and found his father-in-law sitting in his chair. And he said he was there to take his daughter home. And he said, "No, you're not." And he bludgeoned his father-in-law to death with a hammer.
That's what.
Yeah, so now it said that, whoever sits in that chair will soon die. So in 1968, a guy named Tony Ershaw took over the Bugsby house, made it into an inn, and he dismissed the curse and thought it was nonsense, right? And he had heard first that there were 2 airmen who dared one another to sit in the chair. They both did. They both died in a car crash later that day. There was a group of builders who came in and dared one of the young laborers to sit in the chair. He did, and that same day he fell off the roof and cracked his skull open. And that was the last straw for the guy, Tony Earnshaw, who owns it. So he said that he didn't want anybody else to sit in the chair, and he has since given the chair away to the museum. Because he really started to believe, after these things started happening, he started to believe that this curse was true. So that is the deal with as far as famous curses. Now, the funny thing is about curses, James, is that anybody can put a curse on anybody. It's really just a matter of you believing it, right? So if you think
bad,
it's bad, and you know what? There is a website that will teach you step by step how to put a curse on somebody. But it did give a disclaimer saying that, you need to really understand what you're doing, what you're playing with, because this could boomerang back onto you. Yeah. If you believe that you have been cursed, then you can break the curse through spells and prayers and talismans and charms, purifying salt baths, binding spells, magic mirror spells. Magic mirror spell seems to be one of the more popular spells to break a curse. And there are books that will teach you how to break spells and how to do curses. I mean, how to break curses and how to do curses. YouTube. And like I said, people who consider themselves to be magic practitioners, witches, shamans, whatever, those people can break spells for you as well, break curses for you as well. So, curses. That's all that I have on curses, though. Yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting. I learned a whole lot about curses, and we still have time for random bullshit.
What do you got, Cal?
So I wanted to follow up. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I did the people missing in the national parks?
Oh, uh-huh.
The day that we recorded that show, a lady went missing in Zion National Park for 10 days.
Yep.
They found her the other day.
Yep.
And the weird thing about it that makes this crazy shit is, number one, they said that when they found her, she was pretty okay, right? And she never explained like what happened. I read an article that said she hit her head, became disoriented and dehydrated, luckily found a water source, and just hung out by that water source for 10 days. But when they found her, she was still dehydrated. So my question is, if I'm by a water source for 10 days, would I be dehydrated?
Yeah, and this is in my area, Kel, so I've been kind of following this. And there's all sorts of weird little stuff going on. Okay, I've read several stories on this. One was pretty much like the account you read. She was fine. Another one, she was dehydrated, but she was covered in bruises. They found her in an area that had been searched thoroughly before. She was found by a hiker who finds this woman, leaves her there, hikes back, reports where she's at, and then I haven't been able to hear anything if they know that person's name, what happened to the person who found her. I mean, there's some fishy stuff going on. I think it's weird. It's
weird, huh?
Yeah, it's that 411
some
stuff.
crazy shit. I mean, like, what happened to her? What were you doing for 10 days? You were just hanging out by this water source where they searched with drones and dogs and people and thousands. And then guess what else I found out that was crazy? And I did not know this, so I looked it up. If you go missing in a national park, federal government picks up that tab. So they spent thousands of man hours looking for this woman, and nobody's given a decent explanation of like what happened. Where were you? Right?
Right.
I find is crazy to me. So that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up for random bullshit, because that was just another weird synchronicity thing that's been happening to me lately. It just so happens we recorded about that on that day, and she went missing on that day. So that's weird. That's some crazy shit.
Another real quick update, Kel. We talked about flying bat-like creatures.
Right.
On the 15th, there was another sighting in the Chicago area by a United States Postal Service worker who saw one. So just, not even 10 days ago, there was another sighting in Chicago. Have our listeners check it out, you guys.
Yeah, that we did a thing on. You talked about Lake Michigan and the Chicago area and the bat-like creatures. So, last thing I'm going to ask you, James, before we go, and this is the question that I told you guys about, and it's really easy. These are not like hard questions. You don't even like need to like know much of anything because it's about what you think. So, staying with the Halloween theme, what was the scariest movie you ever saw? Scariest movie. All you have to do is go on social media, answer the question. The scariest movie I saw was The Exorcist. I'm going to tag 3 friends. I'm going to tag April, Tina, and Lucy. And then you're going to and that's it. And then
that's it.
And then you'll be enrolled in our drawing to win. That's all you have to do. So,
and don't forget, the 3 people that are tagged get entered also.
Yes, and we have some good prizes. So, James, what is your scariest movie?
The scariest movie would have to be the very first Aliens. That scared the shit out of me.
That was some scary shit. And I saw that movie in the movie theater. I remember my mom took us to see that. That was scary. I think for me, probably the scariest movie that I've ever seen that really scared the shit out of me was the first Nightmare on Elm Street. That shit, I remember that scared me. I went and slept with my mom. I was in high school. I slept in the basement. I was scared. I went upstairs. I got scared. That movie scared me.
And that's based on a true story.
Yeah, that bothered me. I did not like that movie at all. Just the part that coming into your dreams and shit. Yeah, that bothered me. So, James, we are at exactly an hour. We have closed out episode 7 of That's Some Crazy Shit. Next week, you guys, we are going to be doing werewolves and magic rituals, and that will end us for Halloween. Remember, go to social media. Answer the question, what's your scariest movie? Tag 3 friends, like, comment, tag, and be entered into our drawing to win a fabulous prize. As always, my name is Kelly Morgan, and it has been a pleasure.
And I'm James Baez. Keep your minds open, people.
And keep your feet on the ground. Isn't that Casey Kasem?
I don't remember. I make little feet on the video, guys.
All right, you guys, until next time. We'll see you later.
Ciao.